What's up? Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on this live stream about neurodiversity. With me today are Alex, who is my co-host, who's with us in Swissbeatbox as our audio guy. You might have recognized him from GBB. He was putting out some really killer music. As DJ Maru 10. Also, the music that you're hearing before this, the live stream started, that was from his band, which he will give a shout out to later on. So, yeah, with us today we have Luca, who is also from the Swissbeatbox team, actually. I've had the pleasure of working for a while now as our editor. He does a lot of the editing for the Freddy Beats show. So if you like that, you know who to go to, you know who to thank. Other than that, we also have Philippine from Paname Beatbox Hustlers. Did I say that right? I hope so. Cool. And we have Svendro, which is Andro and Svent, who do amazing work with vocal grammatics as well. And they'll be telling you all a little bit about their educational work later on as well. We are missing Max today, unfortunately. I want to give a quick shout out to him. He did a lot of the research that we're going to be presenting to you all today. He worked really hard this month on the live stream. Unfortunately, he couldn't join us today though, but he's here in spirit and in our hearts. But yeah, before I continue, I would like to get our guests to introduce themselves. Talk a little bit about yourselves, guys. I'm just going to go by random. Luca.
Yo, hello. So I'm Luca. I'm starting to develop this like persona artist name as last. So maybe at some point, whenever you see this in time, you might see me as last. I work in the video development area. I'm very interested in communication, new technologies, in new ways of conveying art and conveying expression. And quite recently I discovered that I am neurodiverse, that I am autistic. So I'm still in this process. I'm still learning a lot about myself and about the mind, but I'm happy to talk about it, about my shallow but my experience, if there is the space for it. So yay. You might recognize my work from like the past couple of years working as the video producer at Swissbeatbox. So maybe you've seen some of my work in this channel. So yay.
Sweet, drop us a little beat. Come on.
Oh, yeah, I'm a bit shy at the moment, but
Nice. I'm gonna go at random. Svendro, let's go. Andro and Svent, introduce yourselves.
Hi.
Hey.
Introduce yourself.
No,
Come on, you have to.
you.
Andro, you're the first on the list. Come on.
Okay. So I'm Andro. I'm beatboxer since 12 years, and I'm a beatbox teacher since now maybe 6 or 7 years, and I'm working with Svent and on another project named Vocal Grammatics, which is about creating a writing system for beatbox and methodology. Methodology to new people to be a professor, a teacher, beatbox teacher with this methodology, working on this and with my friend Svent.
And hi guys, my name is Svent. So I'm a beatboxer since 15 years now. I'm a teacher since 10 years. I live from beatboxing since 10 years now. And my job is doing show. And now recently, since I'm working more with Andro and using a vocal grammatic system, I'm more as a teacher since like 4 years now, I guess. So through that we met so many different people, and it's such a very fulfilling experience. I don't know if I can say that, but it's a pleasure to share that with you. And also we work with Philippine, but she will be able to talk more about it. And Adrià,
Yeah.
should we do some beatbox?
Yes, sure.
Is that
It's
is that
now-
why we're here?
Allez.
Yeah, let's go.
Thanks.
Sick. Good stuff. Okay. Thank you guys. Philippine, you're up next.
Hi guys, hi everyone. So my name is Philippine, I'm from France, and I'm a speech therapist for many years now. So I work with neurodiverse people for years, every day of my life. And I've been using Beatbox as a therapy for 3 or 4 years now, working with many French beatboxers, and including Svent and Andro. We've organized many workshops for children with different pathologies like dyslexia, dyspraxia, autism, ADHD, and so much more. So yeah, we also made a documentary about it called Beatbox Therapy, and we talk about vocal grammatics as well, and the workshops with the kids. And now I've been working with grown-ups too, so neurodiverse grown-ups too. And I still use Beatbox as a therapy, and it works pretty well, so I'm gonna keep doing that.
Awesome. That is super interesting. I remember when I first met you in France, I think it was in 2019, and I heard about your work, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. And it's amazing that you guys provide opportunities for beatboxers to do or to use beatbox in other ways than just performing, in terms of like applying it in therapy and all these forms of things. I think that's wonderful, really, and a wonderful opportunity for everyone. Last but not least, my co-host Alex. Let's go.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me here today. Very excited to be here. Yeah, I mean, my background is I work for SBX, Swissbeatbox, in the audio department. It's been a very lovely home to me for the last sort of 6 months or so, and a lot of fun. I'm a musician. I DJ and produce under the name Maru 10, and I have a new project which we've just been releasing now, which you heard some of earlier, called Protect Ryan. So a bit more on that later. Got an album dropping tomorrow. And yeah, I have a diagnosis of dyspraxia. It started off as a diagnosis of dyslexia, and then when they discovered dyspraxia, they decided it was that. And I think I kind of attract neurodiverse people into my life quite a lot, historically. People with complex kind of brain injuries. Like my father, for example, has a long-running neurological disorder from a brain tumor. You know, just various people who've come in and out of my life are that way inclined. So it's been also working. I worked for years teaching and working with people who, although perhaps not explicitly, we're working together because they're neurodiverse. They generally, you know, are, because very often we're working with marginalized groups, people in hospitals, people with mental illness, people who, yeah, for one way or another, could benefit from some creativity with music production. So that's kind of my background in this world.
Awesome. Cool. Now that we're a little bit more familiar with everyone, let's talk a little about the topic at hand. So neurodiversity is what we're talking about today. So neurodiversity is the concept that people think differently. So it's pretty much as simple as that. People behave differently. They have different traits, and I think this is something that you witness all the time. That you meet unique people whose minds just work on a different level from you, and that's why we call this diversity, but neurologically, neurodiversity. Boom. And why we are talking about this today is because just earlier this month, we had World Autism Day on the 2nd of April. So just running along that theme, we decided let's do a little bit of research on neurodiversity. You know, what's it about? Who is neurodiverse? How can we identify it? And the more we research, the more we realize that there's so many different forms of it, and it's a full, there's like a spectrum of it, and a lot of times people don't just fall within one form of neurodiversity. Because it's a spectrum, you can see that there's different traits under each form of neurodiversity, and different people might have different traits. So it's most important to try to understand the people around you, and understand their traits, how you can work with these traits. You know, how can you use this to your advantage in a way, and how can you make them feel most welcome and most valued in our community. That's the main thing. So before I continue, I just want to give a little bit more information about World Autism Day. Just want to give a little shout out to autismspeaks.org, who, you know, every year they have a goal, and they work towards this wonderful day. So their goal is basically to increase the global understanding and awareness of people with autism, which then, you know, it allows for more research to be done so that we can better work with people in this demographic and better understand them. Because learning how to differentiate behaviors and working with the advantages of neurodiverse people is really the key to making them feel accepted and feeling valued in our community, which is what we absolutely want here. Philippine, I see you're sideways now. It's an interesting view, making me see the world from a different point of view, huh? But yeah, so that's a little bit of World Autism Day. And then now I just wanted to present you some things that we've learned from SBX, from our research in neurodiversity, before we dive into certain questions that we'll be talking with our guests about. You know, we're going to be talking a little bit about their experience growing up with neurodiversity, their experience working with neurodiverse people and neurodiverse children as well. How, you know, this has affected their art, and how their art has played into their neurodiversity. How does it interact with each other? But yeah, Ilya, if you could load up the slides about our research, that would be great. Wonderful. Okay. So yeah, these are some facts about neurodiversity. Bam. Ilya, could you load up the first fact? Next page. So, did you know that 1 in 42 males are autistic and 1 in 189 females are autistic? Surprising fact. That's actually a lot of people. If you go and calculate that, I'm doing some math in my head right now. 2.5% of males. Wow. Crazy. But yeah, sorry.
Top math there.
Crazy Asian moment right there. Sorry. Yeah. But yeah. So, but apart from autism, obviously there are many other branches of neurodiversity. Ilya, could you load up the next slide? So some of the more common ones, which you will see, are ADHD, which accounts for 4% of people in the world. ASD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, dyscalculia, and Tourette syndrome. There are more. I just want to give a disclaimer, but these are the ones that more commonly come across. But you can do more research on other forms of neurodiversity as well. So yeah, as you can see, quite a lot of our world is neurodiverse. To name a few people, Steve Jobs. What's my man's from Tesla? What's his name? How do I forget?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. There we go. Albert Einstein. Bill Gates. We did a bunch of research. You can go and check this out. But like, there are so many people that you might not have even realized are neurodiverse, but they've been diagnosed with neurodiversity, and there are definitely more. I think a lot of people nowadays go undiagnosed, but the thing that's more important than the diagnosis is to understand, the person behind it. The diagnosis is essentially just, for us to understand, how they fit within the boxes. But at the end of the day, we are all people, right? We can't be fit into one singular box or in any sort of way. I think as beatboxers, we all understand this, and so it's very important to go in depth into learning how to what these people are like, what are their personality traits, and how they like to be worked with. Alex, I saw you had your finger up. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of echo the point you're making. I think something we discussed before is maybe sort of trying to dispel the myth that being neurodiverse either makes you less competent than other people or makes you a genius. We love to look at things in this very binary way in the world, and I think that's largely where neurodiverse people have historically been let down. Even talking about something on a spectrum implies that there's one end and another end. And as we were saying before, it's actually sort of kind of lots of intersecting lines of different ways of processing information, and it's kind of where you fit in this sort of circle. And yeah, I think, like you say, understanding the person and not just the label, I would wager that aside from some people just being naturally very neurologically gifted with like things like processing mathematics or something like that, some people have become successful who are neurodiverse because of the kind of marginalization, being pushed out of the mainstream. It sort of can push you into a different kind of lane effectively in life, where you kind of have to make it all up as you go along. And if you look at someone like Elon Musk, it's that's him all over, isn't it? Yeah, that's my
Definitely.
point.
That's true. Svendro, Svent and Andrew, I saw you had your hand up.
Yes, I just would like to mention about the differences between boys and girls. We can see there is more diagnosis in the men category. It's also because of our society, how our society is working, and it's easier for us to say women are crazy, stuff like that, than men. Men gonna have to they're gonna get diagnosis, while girls, the society is making us. Maybe that's why also there is such a huge difference between the number. Just wanted to mention that.
Interesting. That's a very good point. Yeah, I think that there is a tendency in a lot of cultures that if they notice something different about a man, they're like, oh, there's got to be a reason behind this. Let's go find out what's the reason. And when it's a girl, it's just like, I mean, she's just a little bit, and yeah, that's something that we have to work to change for sure. But it's a very, very important thing to mention, that the statistics that we've gotten may not be 100% accurate of what is there in real life. It's just a little bit of what we've researched.
I think they're right. It's just about who get diagnosis, who didn't.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Yes.
The number is correct, I'm sure.
Exactly.
Just for people to make sure.
Yes. So again, same thing. More than the numbers, look at the person. What are their traits? What should you be looking out for in them? How do they want to be treated? What's the best way to make them feel safe and comfortable? That's what we want. But yeah, so that's just a little bit of statistics on what the different kinds of neurodiversity are. There are more, like I mentioned. Please, on your own time, do more research about it. Next slide, Ilya, if you can. So one of the bigger issues that we would like to be talking about today is also like the unemployment rate of neurodiverse people. There's a very, very big gap. So as you can see, 80% of neurodiverse people are unemployed, whereas the average person around, the unemployment rate is about 6.5%. So it's very, very big back. Obviously, I think the rates will differ in different countries. This is based off research done in the US. But yeah, the fact lies that there's still a lot of stigmatization of neurodiverse people, and people tend to generalize them to certain traits, which we'll see in the next slide. Sorry, Luca, did you wanna say something?
Well, I wanted to interject in saying that all of these categorizations and all of this information is really useful as tools, not to create that divide of us and them, who is this or who is that, but in order to be able to understand the faults in the systems that do not integrate or do not allow for anyone to be able to be themselves. There is a right way to function within the systems, and there is a not right way to function, and is being able to revise and to say, wait a second, we are understanding that people work in different ways. Are we able to adapt how we work as a society to so no one gets left behind, instead of like saying, hey, oh, that's your problem because you are like this, or that's your problem because you are like that, or guys are like these like this and girls are like that, or this kind of people or this culture. So I feel it's like it's a big issue that can be seen from many different points of view, but the when we talk about like the differences between people, it's very important to keep in mind that we're doing this exercise to see the differences, to see how we are all the same. We are all people. We all want to like be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I just wanted to like make that point as we keep going deeper and deeper into the like the specifics of the data, because the data on its own is it's data, as they mentioned, is like, if we don't have enough data because it's something that we are still learning, it's still new.
Yes.
We don't need to like follow blindly to whatever the latest thing is, but to keep learning.
Yeah. That's a very good point. But yeah, so exactly on this. So in the next slide, Ilya, if you could load that up. So we just want to. So these are certain things that like employers have mentioned, that this is their stigma, or like their thought about neurodiverse people, right? Which is, so there's two problems with this. First, okay, and the reason why we're mentioning it is because this is what they mention as reasons why they would prefer not to hire neurodiverse people. Two problems with this. First problem is you're assuming that these are the only traits that are important in a worker, and the second problem is they are now generalizing all neurodiverse people to have these traits, which both are untrue. So I mean, just to mention a couple of them were lack of communication skills, which, as you can see from today, no one has any issues with communicating, very clearly communicating. Lack of team playing traits, lack of emotional intelligence, lack of persuasive traits, lacking in networking ability, and inability to conform to standard practices. Special shout out to number 6, because I don't think that's even a problem ever, because I mean, why would you want everyone to just conform to standard practice? Like, how do you grow? How do you come up with new creative things in that way? There's no form of innovation that comes out of just doing standard things. But yeah, so this is just what they have mentioned, and I've mentioned the two issues with that. Alex, I saw you had your hand up. Did you want to say something about this?
Just very quickly to chime in on what you're saying. Yeah, I think the last point is absolutely laughable. People who don't conform to standard practices, because frankly, standard practices are meant to be upgraded regularly. And if you like, I think it was Richard Branson who once said he only employs lazy people because lazy people get things done a lot quicker because they want them to be over because it's boring. And actually, one of the things that I think a lot of neurodiverse people get labeled as in education is lazy, and it's sort of not being able to see someone's particular kind of learning style or something like that. If they're not coping with the material they're given, then they must be, if they're clearly intelligent, they must be lazy. But it's probably masking the fact that they've got a neurodiverse brain. Could potentially be masking the fact they've got a neurodiverse brain. And yeah, so I always think it's like funny, that quote from Richard Branson, because I mean, you know, probably he means neurodiverse rather than lazy.
Yeah. So yes. Basically, don't generalize. Just learn how to understand everyone around you. You know. Okay. Yeah. So next slide is just talking about some commonly reported skills about neurodiverse people. Again, generalization. Just because you're neurodiverse doesn't mean that you have to have these skills. No one's under the pressure of having to have these skills. But I mean, these are what's reported. They say there's a remarkable eye for detail, solid accuracy and consistency. Very good at being logical and analytical about things. They have pattern matching skills and a high tolerance for repetitive mental tasks. So I'm not sure how much this is true, but maybe you can share this in your opinions later on when we go through the interview questions. Yeah. And Ilya, if you could load up the last slide, it's just basically, again, the disclaimer. All the information in this info deck is based off our research, you know, and as Luca has mentioned, the research is definitely not complete because we still don't fully understand neurodiversity and how the mind functions in each person, because we are all so different. But yeah, what real people face in real life can be extremely different. Each person is unique, and so we implore you, please go and understand the people around you. Ask them if you're not really sure how they would like to be treated, how they want to be interacted with, and yeah, just remember, we're all human, we all beatboxers, and we just want to be loved, man. That's all we want. So Ilya, you can take off the slides. I want to dive right into the questions for today for our guests real quick. Okay. So I see in the chat that there has been a lot of talk about us not talking about beatbox and talking a lot about neurodiversity. So that was just a little introduction. So you know what? Let's jump right into a beatbox related question if that's okay with everyone. Could I ask, how has neurodiversity affected your beatboxing? Or in anyone else's case, how has it affected your work or your music making, your professional life in a sense? I open it to the floor. Who wants to go first? Alex, go for it.
I'll just be very, very quick because I'm not a beatboxer. I think one of the ways it's affected my sort of connection with beatboxing is I've always been around loads of great beatboxers, and I think that, you know, there could very well be some link between neurodiversity and creativity on that front. But yeah, I think it's things like beatboxing, which are so beautifully naturally creative, and you know, it's like with the work that I do on making music, it's so forced, and you think about every step before you do it, and then you delete a step. You go back. Beatboxing is like playing guitar, something like that. It's from your mind to the sound, and it's like a real beautiful natural flow. And I think that really appeals to people who have, like, you know, this sort of quite high intensity need to create and get stuff out and stuff. And yeah, so I mean, that's one link that I can see between the two.
Yeah, I love that. Actually, that's a really, really good point of connection between mind and sound. I personally have this thing called mood boxing. So I have not been diagnosed with neurodiversity, although I'm sure my mind just works differently from everyone as well. But yeah, I do this thing called mood boxing where a lot of times I'm subconsciously beatboxing without even knowing about it, and it's very much based off my mood. So I do imagine that if my brain was working extremely differently from everyone, my beatbox would just end up different, like, altogether, right? That's awesome, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but yeah, just a little point there. Luca, did you want to say something about this?
Yeah, well, where shall I start? Like, it's really fun because in a sense, beatboxing has been my journey towards discovering my neurodiversity. So in a sense, that was my call to. In another world, I would have gotten to the same place with another thing, maybe, or not. But that was my call. Like, I was going through things in life. I was trying to make sense of things that black swans in the end, you know, those ideas that, oh, all swans are white, big birds, until you see one that is black, and it shatters your understanding of that concept. So I feel like and in a sense, now that I'm starting to like see other people's experiences and like understand other people's perspectives, I can relate to other people who are in the same categories or diversities or whatever. So that's really encouraging. And the way that I've been able to process that information, it has been through doodling, through beatboxing, not as a this is really cool and I want to do this because I want to be cool, but as a this works for me to understand this idea that is complex, and I can hear it but I cannot put words to it, but I'll sing it until I can look at it or draw it or whatever, until I can see it from like fully, until it gets the full resolution. So in a sense, it's like it's tools in the end for me, like, and using these tools, like, it has helped me a lot. So in a sense I can see how in the artistic side it is something beautiful and very powerful, but also in the therapy side, in the understanding of cognition, in the understanding of the fine motor skills, in understanding how to, well, build the voice, build the identity, because in the end that is the main that is like one of the things that I'm focusing the most in the moment is, okay, I can be whatever I imagine, but if I'm not able to convey it, to explain it, to make it real, it doesn't it's just imagination, and it's like finding ways to convey that imagination into the real world, and sometimes there's no words for those concepts, those moods. So yeah, that's my link between beatbox and
expression, right?
exactly raw expression.
I love that. Yeah, Alex, you had your hand up. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, that just totally reminded me. I just want to reiterate what Luca said. I honestly think music has kind of saved my life and also helped shape the development of my brain from a very young age. And I think without that, I mean, the number of benefits I've got from it, specifically talking about neurodiversity, you know, before Safe Space Sundays, music was my safe space, you know, and it was somewhere where I could just be totally in creative control. And I think the process of going through that year after year after year, you know, I've been doing music production alone now for 20 years, it's really helped me take those structures out into the world in a way, and sort of start building my world in the same way. And that's been priceless to me. And actually, it really wasn't until we had our first meeting about this that it really started to all kind of click together in my head, quite how connected this all is to my neurodiversity. So it's been really, like, the past 2 weeks have been really eye-opening, actually.
Awesome. I'm so glad that our research managed to help you rediscover your neurodiversity as well. But yeah, just to quickly mention Luca's thing. I love that you mentioned that how you express yourself through these tools of art and beatbox. Almost kind of reminds me of Reese One as well. Quick shout out to him, I guess. Because he really expresses himself through his visual art and through beatbox as well. And he talked about this a lot of times through his work in his movement called ADO, which is attention deficit order, not disorder, because he's trying to make a new order here. And I love that, that talking about this as not a disorder, because, you know, there's nothing disorderly about this. It's just different. But yeah, Luca, did you want to say something about that?
Yeah, it kind of makes sense, because it's like he's a big inspiration in the end, and many of these ideas also come from like listening to all the beacons that are around, like people that express their ideas and carrying on, like all of these celebrities that we've mentioned before are neurodiverse people who have been able to find a way to take those crazy ideas to the masses, to the people. And if you look at the other aspects of their life, you can see many things that you would like in a traditional or normal society, or like a normal person is like, that's not normal. And depending on the standards of the time or the context of those people, I can imagine misery like in through those, like, okay, it must be complicated being the only person who sees that, and after the fact it's like, oh yeah, of course, like, yeah, of course. So being able to communicate those ideas or those thoughts or those concepts that are not yet formed or are not yet understandable is very complex. So that goes to like another terrain of like communication and new ways of communication, and also like technologies like the internet, like this thing that we are doing right now is something incredible. Maybe we talked about like 2% before, like something like that, 2% of population, something like that. That now is a lot of people, but back then you only knew 100 people, 200 people. So maybe 1% is the weird person, and it doesn't make sense to put effort into that. But now it's quite the opposite. You have individuals who can understand the game of whatever special interest is that interests those people, and go full force onto that, and neglecting other sides of the society or like normal life. So it's very important to be able to amplify the beneficial, the superpowers of people, and being able to lift or support. And in the end, it's like adjusting the systems to include everyone and to not make anyone struggle in the end. And that doesn't mean that someone needs to have their life easier in a sense, but just like understanding the different I don't know, like those lists of traits we mentioned earlier. Sorry, I'm rambling a bit, but those lists of traits we mentioned earlier were really interesting, because the same concept can mean very different things to different people. Like the same, and it's very subjective in terms of the interpretation of what words mean. And that's why I feel like if I'm roaring at you, if I'm squealing at you, you will understand what I mean, because I'm roaring. It's raw emotion. But if I'm using words that I've learned through my experience, and you're using words that you learned through your experience, it's there's this
it can be very different.
Oh yeah. What do you guys think about the influence of beatbox?
It's the non-verbal communication, I think, is a very powerful thing. And I like how you talk about roaring versus like squeaking, because then it's just raw volume, you know, like you can tell there's a different level of intensity in each one. And this also plays into our beatboxing, on how we communicate intensity, tension, relaxation with the different forms of chords, scales, volume dynamics, rhythms. Good point. I like that. Alex, you want to say something?
Yeah, just super quickly to follow up on Luca's point, that yes, even though it might be 1% or 2% of the population who have specific neurodiverse traits, and the fact that they may well be shunned, like sort of culturally, I don't know if that's always necessarily been the case. You know, that person, the one person out of 200, 500 years ago who was neurodiverse might be the person, as we said before, people with ADHD. There's evidence that it's evolutionary, because back in the day we needed people who were awake all night, who couldn't sleep because they were thinking so much, who were wandering around, they were the ones who would be aware if there were animals attacking or other people attacking or some kind of danger to everyone who was sleeping. And so in an evolutionary sense, that like these people do play, neurodiverse people play their role naturally, because that's nature. It's only since we started to like get really clever since the Industrial Revolution that we kind of, I mean, even today, the way that we're talking, you know, we're being very careful with how we talk about this, but we're already littering the place with prejudices just with the language that we're using and the way that we describe these things. So I think it's quite fun to actually start trying to open up your mind in this way and start changing your language and changing the way that you describe or interact with people and stuff to slightly fit a more natural hierarchy, I guess.
It's interesting, yeah. Yeah. It's a very good point. I do want to move to a slightly further point, but slightly also related. I wanted to ask Svendro and Philippine, since you guys have a lot more experience working with neurodiverse kids who beatbox and teaching them beatbox. I would like to know if you have observed any differences in the way they beatbox or the way they interact with you, and you know, maybe you can describe some of these experiences that you've had with them. Yeah, Philippine, you want to go first? Go for it.
Yeah, so first I just want to say that neurodiversity is a really large term, because someone who's struggling with dyslexia or autism, it's really not the same struggle, because if you have trouble reading and if you have trouble communicating with the other persons, I don't think the work is the same. So it's really important to go find help if you feel like you need it, to understand you better, help you understand.
Sorry, Philippine. I think you're cutting out a little bit.
You better, like how your brain works, what are your skills, because it's really important to speak of the. Okay. Can you hear me now?
I do hear you, but you were cutting out in between a little bit.
I don't know what's wrong. Can you
hear
me?
I do hear you. I think it might be your internet connection. Is there a place that you could shift to? Because that was a very, very interesting point that I love that you brought up.
Let me know if it does that again.
Yeah, maybe you can turn off your
okay
for a while, and then we'll have a better reception of your voice. That's okay.
Okay, maybe I'm gonna just turn off the camera for a bit, just while I'm speaking, and then. Yeah. So I was saying that if you're struggling with dyslexia or autism, it's not really the same struggle. If we speak of autism, others communicate, and so these people have been struggling their entire life to imitate others, to adapt to society, to fit in, and professional help can provide advice to use your skills to fight and compensate your difficulties. And it's really hard to find the right way to communicate through verbal and non-verbal communication. And that's why beatboxing is a brand new method, because there are no rules. There are so many rules with the language and the non-verbal communication, but with music, arts in general, it's the kids or adults are more free to express themselves without all these rules, and they have to adapt and adjust to everyone all the time. And I think it's amazing that we were able to work with arts therapy during the last decades, and that people are really interested in this form of therapy, because it's a brand new way to help these people and especially by using their skills, and not just to fight their difficulties, but to use their strength to go through life and to find a work, a job, and to make friends and feel respected and accepted. And so, yeah, Beatbox is a really amazing tool to work communication with this kind of kids or even grown-ups. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say for starts.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's super cool that we are actually starting to use Beatbox as a form of tangible language. We've been saying this for many years. Beatbox is a new language, and this certainly proves that we can really communicate and express ourselves through Beatbox. And I love that this is helping people process their thoughts and process their experiences in a way that's like productive, and you can make great art through it, great music through it, and it really helps them to bring across their message to people, which I think is so important. Incredible. Svendro, did you want to say something about the topic?
Yeah, I go. Yeah, I would like to mention that. So we had like, I don't know, hundreds of students. So obviously at one point we met people who have neurodiversity. Just to mention, it's not only kids; it's also adults. We have like 40 years old people who came at our place and wants to learn beatboxing because they find that cool, because they, I don't know, they see a beatboxer and they're like, okay, I want to do that. Like all of us, this is how we started. Just want to say that when you meet this kind of people, obviously you have to. It's like in life, you cannot be the same as you are with everyone. You have to make sure to understand how people are first. If you can do some joke, if you cannot, if you have to be very serious when you speak, or if you I mean, you know what I mean. You have to feel, you have to take the temperature before being so natural with someone. When you are a teacher, when you teach beatboxing to someone, you have an objective. You want them to have fun. You want them to be able to feel that they are proud of themselves, because this is the better way to make them learn something. And they're here because they have an objective. And so our point is to solve these three things. So you have to adapt yourself. But I just meaning by that there's none, and it's working for everything in the world, but there's no two people or two things in the world that are the same. There's no two people that are the same. And when we're speaking about this kind of subject today, there's not a good answer. So no matter what we're going to say, we are only sharing our experiences. And so I would like to say to people who are in the chat, people who are watching this video right now, we're talking about experiences. So obviously, you might recognize yourself at some point, you might not at some other point. The big thing here is just to say that we want to make this place a better place, and by this place I mean the beatboxing place. It's a wonderful way to include people. It's in the world, but using beatboxing as a first step of acceptance. I mean, and I'm going to finish with that because I'm speaking too much. When I was a teenager, I wasn't that sure of myself, proud of myself, I don't want to say that, self-confident. Beatboxing obviously saved my social life. I wanted to meet girlfriend. I wanted to be cool when you go to the parties and stuff like that. Basic stuff when you're a teenager. 17 years old Parisian white guy in Paris, you want this kind of stuff. Anyway, yeah, it's such a good way to to show who you are, to show your personality, and to give to have a self-confidence and to trust yourself. You know, to be able to say at one point, okay, I'm able to do that. You know, when you go in your first battle, and you're like, oh wow, there's beatboxer in front of me. That's so stressful. Once you do that, once you beatbox in front of Collapse, Alem, and I don't know any other stars, you can do everything.
Yeah,
and that's what we want to do when we teach someone, and we'll talk more about how we do that, of course. But I guess it's a good introduction of that question.
Okay, cool. Luca, I see your finger up. Go for it.
I love that interaction. I can relate a lot. But one thing that I want to, like, one small point that I wanted to add into that was the idea of that side of beatboxing is the side of beatboxing that I fell in love with, and that I love. The being able to share, being able to understand each other as human beings, and the competitive side, the competitive side has to serve as a self-confidence, as a social interaction thing. I've, like, from my experience, my struggle with systems of relationships of groups, and how society tends to emphasize or amplify a small amount of people, and put a lot of pressure into certain people, and then the traits or the actions that certain people do get. So it's this mythological way of working in societies, and I struggle to see how the same stories are interpreted differently by different peoples, because even if we it's messy, because it sort of goes towards, like, religion and towards, like, other aspects of life. But I'm trying, and I don't want to go there, because it's like we're talking about living our lives. But what I want to say in this point is the let's love what we do and do the things because we love them, not to try to become a celebrity or anything like that. If you want to do something and you love it and people love it too, you will be, like, fame will come, but it's not something that you need to pursue, and it's a matter of, like, being with the people. And that's what being with the people, maybe it's not the right way to put it, but being a part of the community is what builds the community in the end. Like, I wanted to mention that, when, like, in regard of the, like, competitions and like being in stage in front of and achieving that, because if not, what is there after that? Because that was, like, my experience after doing, like, big projects, and okay, I've done it, and now I have to keep on doing it. Okay, life is hard. But
I remember we were talking about also how we do metric systems in our society, and so I think you were touching a little bit about that, on our philosophies on how we measure success in a certain way. So I love how you talk about, like, it's an individual journey for each person. You know, your measurement of success doesn't have to be the same as everyone else. You know, as long as you remain happy the way you want to be, and, you know, if you're a better person today than you were yesterday, you know, why not? Philippine, I see your hand is up. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, maybe I'm going to turn off my camera again.
Sure.
Up. I just wanted to say, I was hearing you guys talking about being part of this community. It's beautiful to be part of a community, but I think it's important to to say to people watching us right now, listening to us, that if their teachers, if they teach beatbox to kids or grown-ups or teenagers, it's really important to educate themselves about discrimination, racism, sexism, and also neurodiverse people, because we can do harm if we don't have the good ways. We can have bad reflexes sometimes, and it's okay. We cannot know everything, but that's why we have to get better and try to learn new things every day to let go on these bad reflexes. Like if a kid speaks too much and moves too much, maybe the good thing is not to tell him, please sit down or you're gonna be grounded. Please, if you speak one more time without raising your hand, you're out of the class. Things like that can be really dangerous. And these people are always struggling in their everyday life, at school, in their families. And so if they can have a safe place while they're beatboxing, I think it's really, really important that everyone works on that and educate themselves about these subjects.
That's a very, very good point. Yes. I think we should definitely readjust the way we perceive people's behavior. Just because it doesn't fit in within the standard of what should be in society doesn't mean that they're necessarily wrong, you know. Maybe they're thinking something different from what you are, and you should definitely hear them out, instead of telling them this is what you should do, what you should not do. And I love that you talk about educating everyone on other topics as well, other than just beatbox, because yes, we are beatboxers, but we are humans first. And we need to take care of our humanity before everything else. Alex, I saw you had your hand up first, and then Svendro, I see you have your hand up as well. Alex first, please.
I'll be super brief. Yeah, just to follow on from the point Philippine was making, I think that there is a large level of burnout, like what she was saying before about there being a difference between someone who's dyspraxic and someone who's got autism, is largely like, I think when someone is on the autism spectrum and people self-regulate still. People are in a society where they are just without even anyone necessarily telling them, like a teacher or something, the television, the radio, the sort of culture around us sort of dictates a kind of way of being. And I think for people with autism, it's exhausting to constantly try and put yourself in that box, and always knowing that you're not doing it the same way as everybody else, or it doesn't feel how other people expect you to feel and stuff. And I'm really just so interested in this idea of beatbox as a kind of communication, as a syntax. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. And I think largely what I've seen when I've done this kind of work before is the social aspect really is beneficial to people with neurodiversity. It's one of those things for someone who can't connect very easily or communicate with people very easily or have these shared experiences, because I think that's largely an important point as well, is to be able to have shared experiences with the group, with society. It's something that these people miss out on quite a lot. If there is a way, getting up, like you're saying, getting up on stage and doing your skit in front of Alem, in front of Reaps, in front of all these people, that is a really unifying experience for somebody. You don't need to talk to the person next to you to both be really nervous, or to both be elated when you finished, and that is, I think this is like a very, very interesting point. But yeah, thanks for that, guys.
Yeah. That was good. Yeah, Svendro, if you wanted to chime in.
Yeah, I wanted to join what Philippine and Alex were saying about the work of being a beatbox teacher. The most important if you want to become a teacher is not to be the best beatboxer as possible. It's really to be capable of adapting to who you're talking to. And capable of understanding who you're talking to fix to put the good objective with this person, to talk to him or her he or she need. It's really the one of the most central point. It's to adapt and to learn about pedagogy, pedagogy, how to share the beatbox skills. It's way more important than being a really good beatboxer with extra skills. Being capable of listening and understanding.
Yeah, yeah. I super relate with that as an educator. A lot of my work and research has been about the different ways that people learn. Not just like talking about like writing versus practicing or reading versus listening, but like every single thing, like visually, how do they learn? From listening, how do they learn? From doing, how do they learn? And then how do you translate that into beatbox activities that kids and that adults can do? How do they learn differently? And how can you make a system where everyone is included in this way of learning? And I love that you talk about that. Just want to share a little personal experience. When I first started teaching, this was about, I think, 8 years ago or so. I had this student who didn't really know how to breathe. And so when I was teaching him sounds where he was inhaling, he was like, "Wait, how do I inhale?" He couldn't consciously inhale because that's just something you're not really aware about. Uh, and like it just like switched my mind completely into like realizing that people just have different experiences and different backgrounds. Like some people don't even have that background. I'm like, wow. And I really have to put myself into the students' shoes to see how I can relate what I'm trying to teach them to their experience as much as possible. And I really love that. I love that challenge, and it just brings a whole new perspective for me as a beatboxing educator myself. Luca, did you want to say something about that?
Yeah, and learning is one of my special interests. Like I am a teacher at the university where I studied. I teach new technologies, and I'm like super into like learning what is the best new thing, and then from there trying to explain. And that, I think that's like one of the obsessions of, I struggle to communicate in like a social context, so making it my profession, my thing that I have to do, makes me like sharpen those skills. It makes me have to confront those ideas. So one thing that you mentioned about learning, I it was like a small anecdote that understanding the AI models on how AI learns new topics, and you see like a AI going through the process of the babbling imagination. It doesn't make any sense, but slowly it keeps adding that knowledge until it, oh okay, that's good, oh okay, that's very good, oh wow, this is something that didn't have any precedent. And in some sense, once I started because it's something very magical and mystical, like, oh AI, oh this weird new technology, but once you start understanding how that process works, it's like, oh wait a second, in order to be able to teach machines how to think, we need to understand how thinking works. So
Yes.
that, like, following that process sort of helped me understanding, okay, I think that my brain sort of works in that same way of, okay, in order to learn something, you need to ask the questions, then the answers will come over time. You need to revisit, readjust, rechange, be aware of your biases, be aware of what your experiences are, what the machine you have is, and adjust to those parameters. So it's like weird way to see things, but it's our way, and it sort of helps me use like that metaphor to, maybe someone will say, yeah, that makes sense. Maybe someone will say, don't go don't go to AIs. You lost me there, but I don't know.
I think that's super interesting, actually, into diving into how we understand topics, how our minds perceive and really break down topics. I think so. I've learned this, that there's 3 layers to understanding everything. One is knowing what it is. Second one is how does it come about, or how does it work. And the third one is why. Why is it like this? And I think that's the question that people don't ask enough. In order to really understand the depth of how things work, or what are these things or systems in place, you gotta understand why they're in place. And I also only realized this when I started working on algorithms. Okay, so a lot of my work as well in electronic music. Quite recently, I had to make a effect chain on Ableton. If anyone uses Ableton, I know Alex is, which essentially generates new melodies. And I was like, how do I begin to do this? And then I had to really break down what is a melody, how does it come about, and then how do I teach this machine to make new melodies at random for me. But yeah, so I love that you talk about this thought process in really going in depth and understanding every single thing that you do, so that you understand the what, the how, and the why of that topic. Really good point. Yeah.
Sorry,
go for it.
like one. I just remembered like one thing that you like Alex mentioned earlier about like the bandwidth of the spectrum, the yes or no. It's good or it's bad, it's yes or it's no, there's good people and bad people, and it's come to a point where we are starting to have more mental bandwidth to allow ourselves to be more like different. It's not only good or bad, it's like, okay, there's 5 options that you can choose to do this same thing. Before, we only had the resources to do one thing because life is hard and we don't have anything to do. But with this commodification of life, of this technology, of the systems that allow us to improve in one sense, in the other sense take away part of that choice in a sense. I'm it's just an idea to the air, but I think that the amplification, the like being able to rely on technology in one way has made us rigid as a society while the technology wasn't still there. But as technology increases, it might allow us to broaden that understanding of diversity, of how this, like the superposition of the different ideas collapsing into who we are or whatever.
Yeah, Alex, go for it.
I'm really sorry, I can't help myself. I have to go full geek mode. Just what you said there, Luca, like it's reminding me of an article I read the other day about how our brains work. They started building a computer model of the neocortex, and it basically suggests that every thought that you have comes from a base of 11 different, they call them dimensions. It's not actually a physical dimension, but effectively your brain, in the process of making each thought, can hold 11 different paradoxes at the same time, so that you can like you can hold yes and no options simultaneously 11 times while you make each thought. In the world we live in, we express pretty much universally in binary terms, and I feel like we are catching up with that. Now, I personally think technology is helping with that in a huge way, and I also think that it's the amount of data that the average brain processes in the modern world probably lends itself quite well to neurodiverse people, and may possibly be pushing us in that kind of direction, with more neurodiverse traits becoming normative, which is an interesting potential thought there.
Yeah. That wow. I'm gonna have to do a bit more research on that. That's like, you just opened up my mind. 11 dimensions. Holy shit. Okay. I just saw a comment on our stream that says, "Shut up and beatbox." Happy? Okay. Now we're gonna talk again. I wanted to use this as a little segue. So, Svendro, I know you guys were really excited to talk a little bit about your work as well, and how you guys go about doing it. I'm super interested to learn a little bit more about this. Please go ahead and share.
Okay.
Sure, sure. Maybe we could talk about. I guess we could speak about some experiences, then we
Yep.
get to that.
Yep.
That's how we solve that. Maybe we talk about some experiences before, then.
Ouais. Okay.
That's
Vas-y.
because that's the
key.
It's a major
Yeah. Okay.
solution to our problem. You know, when you try to teach someone, I heard, I guess it's Luca or Alex, I don't remember. Sorry, guys. Talking about someone doesn't even know how to inhale. You know, to breathe in.
Amit
Amit.
was.
That was Amit. Okay, but the only one I didn't mention. Perfect.
Right?
This is absolutely crazy how much it happens all the time to everyone. And a simple thing as speaking is way more difficult than just do some simple beatbox on, but for some people it seems very difficult, just because we forgot that we learn to speak by imitating our parents or the grown people we grown with. Going through that, it's very important for us to, as we said earlier, I'm gonna go quick on that, to identify what the people can perceive on themselves, and you have to try to put yourself in. I was going to say inside them, but that doesn't sound well. I guess
Not really.
you have to try to imagine how they
Yourself in their
perceive the
shoes,
thing.
right?
Sorry for my English, guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to understand. Like some people, sometimes I'm like, okay, just put your upper lips on your lower teeth, and it's hard for us
Yes.
as a beatboxer. We just go like, oh, you see. Some people they just can't. It's everyone is very different on that. Some people, if they are more curious since they're young, they're gonna know their mouth and their phonetic system better than some other people. I don't think we can have a relation between if they are neurodivergent or if they are not diagnostic yet, or because I guess we all are at one point. It's all about spectrum, but anyway, we're here to we cannot save people, but we want to help them to achieve their objective. So for that, we're gonna have to find so many solutions. So the first one was to, okay, with experiences, at one point you can easily recognize some things that you know you can use. Oh, you can do that. Okay, I remember. No, I did that with someone else. It was working. Maybe I'm going to try with you. Okay, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have to find another way, which is one of the most greatest work in the world, because you always have to find another way to do your own job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. And for that, sometimes we also need to write stuff. But I'm going to let Andro speak more about that, because he's the head of the project. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for Andro.
Yeah, and to join Svent, I want to say one of the first step step is to be conscient that what is native for someone is not native for someone else. And the first step is to don't think that oh, this thing look pretty simple for me, so for everyone else it will be very simple. I think this is the very first step if you want to share beatbox, is to think that for some people doing will be so hard, but doing maybe very simple. We never know. Everyone is really different. And to come to the subject, one of the thing we perceive during the lessons is beatbox is a new language. It's something new, and sometimes if you want to transmit share beatbox with people who are not really confident with the language, not really confident to talk, it's something who can be really great is to start with totally new base, and so using alphabet and all this stuff sometimes can be really hard for some people, because it reminds them some trouble they have at school, because they cannot read really good some stuff,
And if you have
understand.
dyslexia, you will be fucked.
Well, yeah, dyslexia, for example, and it reminds us bad stuff. So with Adrià Contest, we created a writing system for Beatbox, and with this one, we just draw parts of the mouth and what you have to do with them. For example, here you have your two lips, top and bottom, and here this cross show you that you have to do an explosive sound, and you have a lot of combinations, and it just allow everyone to identify. We have all a mouth for the most of us, and it's for a new language, a new writing system, and it will not remind what you were living at school with your friends. If you don't know how to talk, if you talk bad, it's not a problem. We do something totally different. If you have friends to express, it's not a problem. And for the little history, I got a pupil student who had I think 10 years old. He didn't talk at all, and with all the lesson we gave him, after 1 year, he started to reappropriate all his comment on dit organes phonatoires?
His phonetic organs.
Yeah, phonetic organs. Philippine, tu pourras peut-être m'aider. And he started back to reuse it, and I think I'm gonna let Philippine talk about stuff like this, because it's our work.
Yeah. But yeah, like before we hop on the Philippine, I love what you guys are talking about. This new writing system, super cool. I think apart from dyslexia, like something that's much simpler than that is every single time you see a letter, it could be pronounced different ways depending on the social background that you're from. In English, something could be pronounced completely different than what would be in French. So even if you're saying the same letter or same alphabet, it could sound completely different for different people. And so I like this method of using anatomy and interactions. I remember a few years ago when we talked about this vocal grammatics. It was very interesting for me because we had very, very similar ideas on writing systems. It is incredible. Yeah, I love this work. But yeah, Philippine, please, I would love you to dive more into this in your experience and work.
Yeah, so I'm a lucky speech therapist because I met some amazing beatboxers a few years ago, and I wanted to try to use beatbox as a therapy with my patients. And so I started asking them many questions. How do they teach beatbox? How did they learn beatbox? What hurts? Is it safe? And so many questions. And so I combined my knowledge with their experience and their knowledge. And so I know how the phonation works, like when you use your air, your vocal cords, your mouth, your nose, everything, but I didn't know, I knew nothing about beatbox. And so I asked for help because I didn't know anything. And so we combined everything we knew with Kenozen, Collapse, Svent, Andro, and also all the colleagues from Paname Beatbox Hustlers. And so we try to elaborate a method that will work for this kind of disorders, this kind of difficulties, this kind of speech issues, and tried and started using them during workshops with Kenozen and then Svent. And now I want to talk about Grammatics, so the little comment on dit pictogramme, little drawings. Drawings, and so it's amazing to use these drawings, because some of the neurodiverse people really need visual support to focus and to learn and to memorize. And so when we use visual support, especially for like deaf kids or ADHD kids or autistic kids, it's amazing to have this support. And so thank you guys for providing it to me, because it really helps me doing my job more properly. And we can like put like 20 drawings in front of a kid, and they can like read all of them and memorize them and feel more comfortable during beatboxing. And they can learn many new sounds, and they can create sounds and draw them. And it's amazing to have this support. And if I can give you give teachers advice, use drawings and use a mirror when you want to teach someone how to beatbox. Please use a mirror, especially with younger kids, because they don't know what's in their mouth. And yes, we do know because we're grown-ups, but they don't know yet. And so please draw a mouth, please show them their own mouth and the tongue and the teeth, and use like concrete images and situations to, like, if you want to do like the case snare, okay, it's really hard to explain. You have to inhale your air. It's really hard, yeah. But if you act like you're surprised and do, it's a good image to teach them. Or if you're underwater and then you have to come up and get some new air, how do you do? Okay. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do for our case snare, okay? And then try to teach them. But the mirror and images and drawings, it's a really, really good way to teach children or neurodiverse people how to beatbox in a more effective way.
Yeah, I super relate to that. I love this. I love this live stream so much. Another quick tip: if you don't have a mirror, front camera on your phone works as well. I find this to be super effective. I always get my students to record themselves so that they can go back and observe what they have tried and what they have learned, and really break down what they've done, because visually it really helps them. But yeah, I love that you talk about this. I think like to summarize that, I think 3 most important things for any student to understand a sound is first anatomy. Anatomy is just knowing about your instrument, man. Like, this is so important. Beatboxers don't know what's happening inside, what's happening outside. Know your instrument, anatomy, know how it works. So how can they interact? You know, is it a pressure sound? Is it an inhale? Is it an exhale? Is it a combination of the two? And the third one is really breaking it down for them in simple human functions. Like, is it similar to a cough? Is it similar to a sigh? Is it like a whisper? Is it like a gasp, like Philippine mentioned? So yeah, these 3 things can essentially break down any sound for anyone. And yeah, I love that we're talking about this. I'm sorry, yeah, I had to geek out. This is my love. Yeah, Luca.
Yeah, I really love the concept of the pictographic representation of sounds, because I've really struggled to, because I've never pursued beatbox as I want to become a really good beatboxer. It's something I've done while doing other stuff. So naturally I've been improving over time, but I still am in that like, nah, you're not good. Yeah, I'm just still learning. And one of the things that I really struggled with was, and I just stopped trying, is to read beatboxing written down with P's and B's and R's and T's and S's. It's really uncanny for me. It's very difficult because I can only see this is a P, this is a B, this is not a kick or a snare. If you want to represent a kick or a snare, use the symbol for the kick or the snare. It's like something that is, and it shouldn't be that hard, but it's like not happening. So it really clicked when you guys talked about this. It was like a, yeah, no, this is useful. And even if it's like it's something silly for you, maybe for some other person it might be useful. So it's understanding that sensibility of, is this the best way to achieve this, or have you got any other way of achieving? So in terms of, if you are teaching, if we are teaching, it's important to have that responsibility of understanding how to approach well, if you're teaching, you have like that responsibility, but if we are just communicating, it's also important to have that responsibility of understanding, are we on the same page, are we still here? Is exactly
100%. I think that goes with everything. It's about finding a common understanding with everyone. Yeah, great points brought up here. And Luca and Alex, for people who have grown up with neurodiversity, I just wanted to know, does this, like, is this direction that Svendro and Philippine are taking, does it give you hope for a better education system for the future? Because I remember you sharing with us how you struggled a little bit with the traditional education system, and the ways that they force you to work in a certain rigid manner.
Yeah, they
So-
kicked me out twice.
Terrible.
Yes, it's massively inspiring. It's not just inspiring, it's like kind of groundbreaking. It's like connecting a lot of dots in sort of very modern approaches to psychology, science, anatomy, like you say, and I just find that fascinating anyway. And yeah, I mean, I've always been really interested like in different communication styles, non-verbal communication, and like this concept of syntax, where it's not language necessarily, it's not coded, it might not even necessarily be organized, but it's communication nonetheless. And I think that, yeah, it just makes me, I want to read about what you guys are doing. Actually, I'd like some links or something at the end of this so I can find out a bit more about your classes and stuff. So they sound very interesting. But yeah, great stuff.
Awesome. Luca, I see you very excited.
I am also very excited about this. I also want to know more about it.
Fantastic. So as we are approaching the end of the live stream now, before I move on to summarizing, is there any last things that any of you want to share with our audience about your experience? Yeah, go for it.
Just want to mention that this is our job to make this place a better place. This is our job to find tools. This is our job to educate people. We can see, of course, as when you're young and you enter into the beatbox community, you can maybe see only the thing that I want to be the better and I want to be the best, and I don't really care if people are struggling or not. I focus on myself. I mean, that's sad. Maybe that's the way the society is working right now, and we have to change that. I'm not telling you to go about socialism or stuff like that. I'm just saying educate yourself of more respecting people. We have the society has a role to play, but also it has to start here. So we have to find solution. We have to find ways to make people feel better. Even if you know the great result, I don't care. We don't care. We have to do that. Okay. For the vocal grammatic system, for example, if I can give you an example, I get some kids that if I do a sound, you know, that I got. Let me take an example. One kid I see every Wednesday. He has strong autism. He doesn't really speak properly. He is not able, for example, to do two things at the same time. It's which is kind of hard when you have to beatbox. That's very hard. This kind of stuff for him. After weeks of working, he can do it, and that's asking a lot of concentration, which he has only like for 15 seconds. Then we have to have a break for like 1 minute. Then we can try 10 seconds, 15 seconds again. But if I do a song, if I do a, it's gonna instantly do it the same, and that's amazing. It's very hard though to because obviously we use the vocal grammatic system with him, but it's very hard to make him understand that, okay, this is your lips, this is what you have to do with your hair, this is coming from the diaphragm, then you have to, I mean, it's very hard to go through that. But actually I don't care, because if I use this symbol, for example, for a K snare, or if I use the letter K for him, as he has no trouble with reading, it's kind of the same. He is going to associate this card to the sound. He knows it's this one. So I can write very, very long pattern with this system, and it's working. And that's all. That's all we want. You guys are speaking to the people watching that. Of course, can still use letters. For so many people, it's working. I mean, I did start with this. Andro had to kind of convince me to use the vocal grammatic system, because at the beginning I was like, no, I'm doing this for 5 years and it's working pretty well. It might work, but it's not fair, because some people cannot work with this kind of system. You have to find better way to make it more just, more. It's not about equality, it's about equity. Inclusion. Yeah, you have to make it. You have to use a freaking system that works for everyone. And so writing the beatboxing and make it more understandable, as it's just a drawing, just a simple drawing of what you're actually doing. This is what the system is based on. Makes it more accessible. But there's so many other things we have to think about. So many things that we are working on. This is why we're doing tutorial videos, because we want to do it in a way where everyone can see it and understand it. There's so many things. You can write article. Even you at your place, when you're teaching beatboxing to someone else, just try to find a way to be nice, not aggressive. And it's, I mean, it seems so stupid to say that, but I think some people sometimes needs to listen to it, Yeah.
And I just think to add something, I just think sometimes it just starts with something simple. It's to admit that at every moment we can have wrong. As a teacher, every time I can do mistakes. The first thing I say to my students at every classes is like, if sometimes I do something bad, something you don't like, I explain badly, you tell me, and I do differently. There is not bad students, only bad teachers. So if you don't understand, it's not your fault, it's mine. So I have to explain to you differently until you understand what I want to say. If you don't understand, it's not your fault. It's my job to understand the good way to make you understand what I want to tell you. I think this is thanks.
100%. I super agree as an educator. Yeah, man, it's really about knowing your students, or I mean, in general, knowing the people around you, knowing how they work, knowing their mindsets, their backgrounds, their cultural backgrounds, their story. What is it like to be in their shoes, and then learning how to work with them. This is how we can help to bring a more inclusive society and a more inclusive community, to make everyone feel like, they're in here, they're valued, they're loved, and they can do this, and that is so important. I just want to give a quick shout out. I see in the chat, Adam Z he talks about the PECS symbols. I'm gonna go check that out. I think that's a cool point. Thank you. And he also talked about his experience with autism spectrum kids. I think that's really cool. Also want to give a quick shout out to Adrian Croza. I think you guys are familiar with him as well. From Lyrebird Beatbox School. I see him in the chat. Go check them out. They're awesome. But yeah, so just to do a little quick summary, what have we learned today? The most important thing is look less at the numbers, look more at the people around you. What are they like? Ask them how they like to be treated. Ask them, get to know them, get to know their background, get to know how their brain works, get to know what is their mindset. And then from there, you'll be better equipped to know how to treat them, to know how to make them feel respected, to know how to teach them, to know how to be friends with them, to know how to work with them on a professional context. And I think that's really, really something that's super important. It's not about them who need to fix themselves in any form of way. It's about your mindset and how you learn to work with people who are different, because difference is not a bad thing. Different doesn't mean anyone is incompetent. Different is just different. That is it. Luca, you want to add in something?
Yeah, and one thing that I wanted to mention is like trying not to make it patronizing, but understanding and I forgot about the word. It sometimes happens, but yeah, it's like not about patronizing people, not about poor people that need help, and it's understanding the perspectives. It's about compassion. That was the word. Being compassionate about each other, and
passion and empathy, super important.
Not sure if someone else wanted to say something.
Alex, go for it.
Yeah, I guess just to sum up, my message generally is if you have a diagnosis or if you feel that you may have some neurodiverse traits and you feel the pressure associated with that, be it self-imposed, be it like at school or at work or socially, just like everyone has been saying, get to know yourself as well as you can, get to know your environment as well as you can, and just, I think in my personal experience, it works out. Like you might well feel like school wasn't right for you, like you can't find your place in the world of work and stuff, but if you just keep chipping away there, you can create a place for yourself, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Nice. Super. And Philippine?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that it's a beautiful difference to be a neurodiverse person, but it is hard, and we have to say it. These people do struggle every day since they were kids, and especially when they don't know it. And so it's not just about the difference and that we should accept everyone. Of course we do. Of course we should. But we have to keep in mind that it is a pathology. It is something that is hard to live with. And it's important not to minimize this. And also, if you do your job as a teacher, for example, and you do educate yourself, it's okay to speak up. When we teach a class, it's okay to speak up, to say, okay, so here is, I don't know, this kid A, he is deaf. So what does it mean? It means that. And it's the same thing for a kid with ADHD or autism or dyslexia. And it's important to talk about it. Of course, you want to ask the kid first if you can talk about it, but it's okay to speak up. And in many situations, even if you hear something racist, if you hear something sexist, homophobic, it's okay to speak up, say, okay, pause. We have to talk about this. Everyone sit down, but not just say, shh, don't say that, and move on. It's really important to educate the youngest and the oldest, because they do need to educate themselves too. And so I totally agree with Svent, and Andro about we have to make this world a better place, and we can start by making the beatbox community a better place. And it's really important to speak up and to support the others who are struggling with anything. So important things to say.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. That is absolutely true and super important. And I'm so glad you mentioned that. So just to end off, for further research, how can people find you, all of you? What are your handles? I mean, your handles will also be in the description of YouTube, but just to let them know, how can people find you? How can they find out your work, more about your work? Philippine, you want to go first?
Yeah, so I have my Instagram page is more like personal thing, but maybe my Facebook page, Philippine Mignot, so my full name. I posted articles about my work, and also the website Paname Beatbox Hustlers, where you can find articles and papers as well, and also the trailer of Beatbox Therapy, the documentary about using beatbox in speech therapy that we made with Svent. And so, yeah, the Paname Beatbox Hustlers website and my Facebook page, Philippine Mignot.
Awesome. Svendro, you want to go?
Yep. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok with Le Svendro. Svendro.
Yeah. Our website is actually in France, but you can have a contact. You have a contact form at the end of the website. If you have any question or anything you want to talk about, we would be glad to speak of it. And also, yeah, Instagram. I think it's the most direct thing. And if you want to see what we do, since we became
runner.
Yeah, well, we lose in final.
Yeah, we are French runner-up champs.
You can see our YouTube. Yeah, this is where we do have fun, a lot of fun on YouTube.
Yeah, mainly. Thanks
for
having us.
A lot of videos. Awesome. Thank you for coming. Luca, go for it. How can people see more of your work?
Well, I'm quite a dispersed person, so I don't have everything centralized in one place or anything that I'm up for promoting or sharing. But if someone wants to contact me or something like that, I guess I have an Instagram page, Luxavas, LUCSAVAS. You can see it in the description. But I'm not that of a social media person, and so. Yeah, don't expect much yet.
But in any case, if you want to see his work, I mean, you see that on Swissbeatbox anyway.
Exactly. So... Yeah, some stuff. Yeah.
Alex, I know you have multiple streams of work, so you can shout a couple of them out. Go for it.
Please. So if you want to check out any more of the music from what was playing earlier, and also my music project has an album dropping tomorrow on a record label called Homage, you can go to our Instagram, and that is protectryan.jpg. If you're interested, I guess, in finding out a bit more about this kind of stuff that I've done in the past, I'm actually building a website at the moment that has a bit of a history, musical history, and kind of work history and life backstory that's kind of explains a bit more about this, and that will be popping up on my socials at some point when it's finished in the next few months. But yeah, protectryan.jpg, that's where the tunes are. Check it out.
Sweet. Awesome. So with that, I would like to remind everyone to stay safe and respectful of each other. I would say have a safe Sunday, but it's Thursday, but be safe all the time anyway, right? But yeah, let's make it a safer place for everyone in our community. Let's spread some love around. And yeah, have a great week ahead. We're going to leave you with a nice video from Reeps1 to play. Reeps1 himself, by the way, has ADD, or as he calls it, ADO. And I would love to call it that way as well. And he does a lot of work on that. And this video that we're going to be playing is talking about how his art interacts with his music and how he expresses himself that way. It's a small documentary that was on Swissbeatbox as well. And we'd love to leave you with this to ponder about, people around you who might be neurodiverse, or if you're neurodiverse yourself, how can you express yourself through your art and beatbox? And if not, how can you help other people express themselves through their art and their beatbox? So yeah, with that, thank you all so much for coming down to the stream. Thanks everyone for being sweet. Love for everyone. Mwah. And Ilya, hit that video. Let's go, man.
In 1966, Bell Laboratory engineers partnered with artists to create a series of experimental performances. Today, that very fusion between art and technology and the questions surrounding creativity is something that is more important than ever. My name is Reeb Swan. My speciality is to pair voice with technology. I've spent my life learning how far I can push the musical instrument that is my voice. Working in collaboration with Nokia Bell Labs, now I'm going on a journey of discovery across the world to understand more about this art form and how it's inspiring communities, scientists, and engineers alike.
Being alive means paying attention to the artists, engineers that are trying to say something.
When I was young, where I grew up and the environment that I was in, there wasn't many ways to express myself. I'm now here in the Bronx, and I've been told that there is something special happening here. People are unlocking young people's potential, and I want to see how that is happening.
All of the students have some form of visual impairment, but then in addition to that, the students also have a whole host of other disabilities. And some of our students, really, it's a challenge. I really was very limited in my knowledge about beatboxing. Things changed, I believe it was about 8 years ago now.
My first experience of coming to Lavelle was through an invitation to come and DJ the school dance. What I saw was just the kids' reaction to music. This isn't just kids listening to music and gaining some joy out of it. This is kids at a visceral, at a human level, like, this is ecstasy, this is complete joy, and it's completely unhinged. There's no self-consciousness, there's no, oh, am I dancing well or not? I mean, I'm just wanting to move, this is how I feel, and that's where I was like, wow, really saw how powerful music was. Why are we giving the kids 30 minutes worth of music to listen to? Let's teach them how to do it. And let's not only teach them how to do it, let's get the best beatboxers in the world to teach them how to do it.
Guys, make some noise for Beat Rockers right now.
Beat Rockers is a music and self-expression class that uses beatboxing.
I want to know, how is beatboxing?
We didn't really understand why the art of beatboxing would have been such a great fit for this population of young people. But once we applied it, and once we started to teach the young people, that's when we were like, wow.
I can remember the first week, and you could hear this booming through the halls and through the walls. The first class, you could tell that there was definitely something special there.
Yeah. Yeah, Carlos.
And it was the first time that those students of ours that are maybe nonverbal, really have a lot of different disabilities, were able to participate in a collaborative project.
And we want to definitely jam out and create some new music with you guys. Okay. But we also have our very, very, very special friend. Guys, make some noise for Harry.
Yeah, so my name is Harry. I'm really, really excited to meet you all. I've come to see how you guys beatbox, how you make music.
Who wants to warm up on the microphone? Because I would love to hear what you guys are doing. Yeah, ready? Okay, yeah, my friend, you take this.
Okay.
I like to dance.
I like to dance.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Remy.
Sorry.
Yeah!
Yeah, you got it.
You are crushing it, man. You've been practicing so much. Every time you come back in the summer, you have totally awesome new sounds.
Do you want?
No.
Should I start?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to start? Oh. Hey. Practicing so much, huh?
That is true.
I can tell your practice has been really making your sound so clean, man. I'm so proud of you. Okay.
Are you guys ready? Yeah! 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom, boom.
Boom. Now, we're gonna make some beats in
Quite a thing to see such pure sharing and expression. There's absolutely nothing holding them back.
Let the challenge begin. That was a gong. I heard it.
It was something that tapped into our students that I hadn't seen before, but they would just participate and realize that, you know, they weren't so different than other people.
Think about a kid here who's blind, wheelchair-enabled, has autism, and is nonverbal, for example. None of that matters. We can still beatbox. We can start doing that immediately. For the kids to be able to step to their peers and be like, yo, I'm gonna rip a crazy beatbox, give me some rhymes, it really allows them to sort of stand with their peers, what I call social currency.
Eat your lunch and don't behave.
Yes, you did this earlier. That's really interesting to me because you can really quickly take the sounds and turn them into words.
Yeah.
Because 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7. And that switch, that's not an easy thing to do. You're very sensitive when it comes to the structure of sounds.
Oh.
And the way that you put them together. It's like really instinctual to you. And that's a special skill.
There has been an evolution in terms of the intention and the utility of this art form, as well as, you know, a place to find joy, but can you actually continue that momentum and flip the joy into actually making solutions to real problems that the kids are facing. In this particular circumstance, it would be speech therapy. How can we use beatboxing as a tool for speech therapy?
How do we practice talking and beatboxing at the same time?
Okay, so we'll pick a word that has a beatboxing beat.
Okay.
And with that beat, we'll repeat it.
Remember now?
Sing.
So Shelly, what is a good word that has some beatboxing sounds in it?
Buttercup.
Woo! Okay, you do remember what beat rhyming is, right? Guys, can we all try to do that? Can we go butter? Beatboxing is in a way like a gateway drug to being able to speak and find your message.
Like Remy's style, how he beatboxes is very much him. And and that's the connection. When we started, he wouldn't talk in class.
He was so shy. Remy, let me hear. We had him in here, we were doing a beat rhyming kind of workshop and working more on the speech and articulation. And I was like, okay, Remy, I was like, do you hear how powerful and strong your beatboxing sounds are? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, you hear when you talk, it's like a little bit hard to understand? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, now imagine every single word you did was like beat rhyming, right? Like just as powerful as you beatbox, imagine that was your speech. And he was like, literally went, oh. And in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh. And then he was like, for the rest of the year, he'd be like, goodbye, Miss Kayla. Butter. And in that moment, I was like, this works. This totally works. This is it. And I saw the breakthrough. And why it was a breakthrough is because not because we saw it working, it was because he went, oh, I get it now. Yeah, make some noise for Remy and Shelly! Shelly, oh my gosh, your sounds are so cool now. And I can tell that this summer you must have been working on beatboxing because, or singing, because now your confidence is like through the roof. You're shining, Shelly.
Yes.
That's amazing. How do you feel?
I feel awesome.
You feel awesome? Well,
Actually,
I feel awesome.
Can I ask you a question? So when you're doing it, you closed your eyes. Like, how you're focusing? So how when you're making the sounds, can you feel them as well as hear them?
Yes. Like for me, beatboxing is feeling the rhythm, and once I feel the rhythm inside of me, that's when I show it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes! Sure.
You beatbox, do you feel good or terrific?
I feel terrific. I feel awesome. I feel like that it's my inner me, and I'm just so awesome that I'm able to express that about myself. Because you guys know me as quiet, and I'm like the shy type.
I don't know you as that shy.
When you see the beatboxing me, I show this different side of me that no one else sees.
Oh, Shelly, I love that, and I think when we make, I really like how you just said, like, I show the inner me.
She spoke about beatboxing in the most intense, pure way. She said how much it meant to her, and that when she did it, she could feel it, and it was hers. And I'd never met her before, and then there was this person vocalizing all of the things that I've felt and the reasons I think it's important, and the amount I complicate it and do all these different things, but then there was a person living the very reason I started doing it in the first place. That it threw me off.
Well, hopefully we'll see each other again.
I think we will, definitely. Like, we'll have more time to speak, and I want to watch you grow and perform and share. It's super, super special.
But I'm glad you found your voice within beatboxing.
No, that's it. When you were speaking, what you said really, like, touched me. That was like, because
It's like you're able to feel.
it's the pure, that's what it's all about. People forget, but that's it. Like, that's the source of it all, because you have a center. You have something that's yours and no one else don't need anything else. Exactly.
Yes, we understand that.
It's just something to behold. Like, everyone in this building probably sees it all the time. I don't get to experience that type of energy.
And the reason why we really want to create this and be able to train other beatboxers to do this, and even speech therapists, like anybody. But imagine all the beatboxers in the world, the force that we have, and instead of like people obsessing about like battling and like the ego, if it was a selfless thing. I think if beatboxers know what beatboxing actually is and like how healing it can be, and how like you feel this energy, like what you can give, but not even just yourself, just sharing this art form that we have, like what a ripple that could do in the world.
The idea of beatboxing, I think it's slowly getting more recognition outside the confines of the world of like hip hop. I think once you give it and put it into the hands of the next generation, they're gonna take this stuff and just go all these different places with it. And I think that's sort of what's happening now.
All of this had me questioning, what next? How much further can we push this medium, and what will the future of creativity truly look like?